This is the Mint live on ZTN Prime, your sneak peek into the world of business, finance and economies. I'm Ibe Mabunda. Let's get started. Coming up, in a world where success often comes in sharp suits and boardrooms, one woman is proving that business can thrive in a barbershop with clippers in her hand and vision in her heart. We'll give you more on that story. Gold export earnings rebounded in March 2025 to $250 million, up 14% from February, ending a three-month decline despite record global prices. The berry subsector continues to lead in the renaissance of the horticulture industry with a 351% surge in export earnings from $11 million in 2020 to $50 million in 2024. Zimbabweans are snapping up properties as a safe haven against currency uncertainty at a time when a popular hedge, the country's stock market, is currently underperforming. Stephen Sad, as chief executive and founder of Aspen Pharmacare, purchased just over 100 million rand in the company's shares this week, bolstering his stake in a clear sign of backing the group in the face of recent headwinds that saw billions of rands wiped off its market cap. U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a 100% tariff on overseas produced films has ignited fierce criticism from Hollywood and academic circles amid growing concerns over the struggling domestic film industry. And Airtel Africa has announced that it has inked a deal with SpaceX to bring Starlink satellite-based internet services in the 14 markets it operates in on the continent. We speak to an expert on the subject live here on The Mint. Now, The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Mint as we come to you live from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Ibe Mabunda. Now we take a look at our stories in detail. In a world where success often comes in sharp suits and boardrooms, one woman is proving that business can thrive in a barbershop with clippers in hand and vision in her heart. She is not just redefining style, she is reshaping stereotypes. We take a look at the following report.
Done on male barber. Listen, I met a female barber who convinced me that she could do my hair even better than male barbers. So, as they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Come with me.
It's not every day you meet a woman like Angeline Chara, fondly known as Pretty the Barber. Clippers in hand, vision in mind. In a trade often seen as a man's turf, she holds her ground. No, she owns it. Sharp lines, cleaner fades, and sharper business sense. I asked her when it all started.
But ndakaita hairdresser. Yes. Then from there, ndopandakatanga kuona kuti hakuna vakadzi vanogera, ndakanyatsoga pasi. Ndikanoda kuna vakadzi vanogera. Ndiite zvogera tione kuti haufa. Ndatangira ugweru. It is 2017.
She moves with the rhythm of experience. Clippers gliding, focused eyes in the mirror. But behind her skill is a story of grit, not just about scissors and blades, but sacrifice and bold steps. I ask what kept her going when people doubted her.
Machallenges ndo akawandisa. Ndakatoshinga kuti unoda kuzodaizoka. Ndakatoshinga. Varume chero chero nyango ukatomuti nayo. Kuenda ugere uzvezve kuti utimuwa atondira ugere obva kuti uyai. Vaitoramba machallenges andakasangana akapepa but ezvezvo vanhu vakuziva.
The cut is just part of it. Pretty's place has become a little hub, a safe space for honest conversations, laughter, and ambition.
muzvikoro maboarding schools tindokwasa sei kuti ndibate contract kuti business rangu rirambe richiendera mberi rikure.
Preeti, who rents a chair for $60 and offers cuts to her clients from $5 a cut, leverages digital platforms to reach out to potential clients.
Anokwanisa kungondisika nawo oona namba dzangu otanga kundifonera achida kugera. Ndine TikTok, kunyanya TikTok mazano ndo inenge itonyaka neFacebook. Yes, even kuYouTube kaina ndine kumwe kwandinowanika ikoko.
The fade is done. She steps back and looks at her work, satisfied. I look in the mirror and see not just a fresh cut, but a clear view of what business really is. Vision, hustle, and heart. As you might guess, I found myself a new barber. Ibn Mabunda, reporting for ZTN Prime in Harare. Now, gold export earnings rebounded in March 2025 to $247 million, up 14% from February, ending a three-month decline despite record global gold prices. This recovery was driven by a 9% rise in gold output, mainly from artisanal and small-scale miners, who accounted for 68% of total production and boosted Q1 output by 40% year-on-year. Large-scale miners continue to struggle due to structural issues, power blackouts, and underinvestment, with key players revising production targets downwards. Meanwhile, global gold prices have surged to $3,500 an ounce due to geopolitical conflicts, economic uncertainty, and a weakening US dollar, reinforcing gold's appeal as a safe haven asset. However, sustainability concerns remain due to the informal nature of this trade and the need for long-term investment in informalizing the sector and recapitalizing larger operations. Speaking to ZTN Prime, a financial analyst, Zayam Chipese, said one key area to focus should be investment in alternative and renewable energy sources.
So while the macroeconomic environment presents an opportunity for profitability, there are local challenges such as unreliable electricity supply and foreign currency retention constraints. So I think one key area of focus should be investment in alternatives and renewable energy sources, because the dependence on the national grid, which suffers from frequent outages and high tariffs, has proven to be a costly vulnerability. And I think also in a parallel, adopting modern mining technologies such as automation, digitalization, and real-time monitoring could significantly boost efficiency and reduce production costs. So these innovations also signal to investors as a commitment to global best practices and operational excellence.
Now, the berry subsector continues to lead in the renaissance of the horticulture industry, with a 351% surge in export earnings from $11 million in 2020 to $50 million in 2024. Statistics released by the National Trade Development and Promotion Organization of Zimbabwe, Zimtrade, from Trade Map 2025 show that the country's earnings from berry exports surged from $11.124 million in 2020 to $50.137 million last year. In volume terms, the exports rose 2,503 to 6,240 tons over the same period. The Netherlands was the leading buyer, accounting for 29% of the earnings in 2024, with $14.4 million, followed by Hong Kong, China at 22% with $10.9 million, while Germany came in third on 14%, netting $7.2 million. The berries classification consists of cranberry, mulberry, blueberry, strawberry, as well as raspberry. Zimbabwe's blueberry industry began with small experimental plantings in 2008, but it was not until 2017 that the country made its debut on the global markets with its first commercial exports of the crop. The blueberry sector has recorded tremendous growth, with export earnings surging from $1 million in 2018 to $15 million in 2024. We're now joined live by Tapiwana Shekusereka, a financial analyst, to get perspectives on the subject. Tapiwa, how important is this development for the subsector?
It's so exciting to receive such meaningful and economically significant news from one of our sectors in Zimbabwe, specifically which is agricultural sector, and mainly the subsector of horticulture and blueberry industry, as statistics released by Zimtrade recently. It shows that the blueberry industry, in terms of revenue growth or earnings growth, it experienced an exponential growth between 2020 and 2024. In terms of absolute figures, we saw that an increase of more than 38 million between 2020 and 2024, from 11 million to 50 million, which is quite a huge figure in terms of contribution both to the entire economy and to the horticulture industry. And it's quite pleasing given the state of our economy. We need to recover, we need to grow because we have a capacity to grow. And that significant jump in terms of numbers emanating from the growth in terms of global market, which is ready to be served in terms of organic foods, mainly from the farming activities, just like what we witnessed from the horticulture industry in Zimbabwe.
Perhaps as follow-up to that, what prospects for growth exist where the country's horticultural sector is concerned?
And in terms of the expected future revenue growth, we see a huge potential, given that we are serving an underutilized market or with an already existing demand. And if we look correctly, the main source of revenue so far emanating from Europe and Asia, specifically from Netherlands, which constitute more than 30%, and from Asia, specifically China, which contributes more than 20% of our earnings, and from Hong Kong, which constitutes at least 10% and above. And we still have a lot of work to do in terms of our supply to an already available demand to other countries and other continents, and also to serve our local markets.
Right. Lastly, may you speak to the growth of the sector domestically and how Zimbabwe could leverage its potential?
And I believe that we still a very big room to grow in terms of revenue growth, and as well as market position, given the position we have and the advantage we have as compared to other well-developed markets, specifically from Peru and other economies. So I am sure if we try to save and to take advantage of our ability to supply off-season, we are going to see some significant growth in terms of volumes we supply to those markets and other emerging markets as we progress towards our target of 2030. So I'm sure by 2030 we'll see a significant increase and an exponential growth and upward trajectory in terms of the growth of horticulture industry.
thank you for joining us on The Mint. Tapiwanashe Kusereka, a financial analyst, helping us break down the horticultural figure. Now, time for us to take a break. After the breather, Zimbabweans rush into property as safe haven against a volatile economy. Now, The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Warm up, get cozy, and shake off the winter chill with ZTN Prime's sizzling new shows. First up, we visit tiny spaces and hang out with the little ones on Happy Sprouts. This latest addition to the ZTN Kids block shows off talent and fun school events across Zimbabwe. Be sure to also catch more fun on Magic Adventures, The Crystal Dark, and Chi Chi Ping Ping Fantasy Adventure. The dynamic suspects of Zimbabwean comedy are back to better your evenings. Laugh out loud with family and friends on Timi Nechikwata.
Security! Call security! This is a disaster!
And our new game show, Game Changers Zimbabwe, refreshes your night viewing. Learn all about starting your business. With sharp contestants and a panel of celebrity executives, the show holds much for you.
For $50,000, you have to have a game-changing idea.
We are here asking for 50,000 in return of 30%.
Started this journey with only $23.50.
Don't miss another one of our reality shows, Heartbeats, shot straight from hospital theaters. Get face-to-face with top cardiothoracic surgeons as they perform open heart surgery. Dig into our menu of intriguing programming, which also comes with new and exciting episodes of Village Court, Munava Mune, Drug Haven, Sungura Chronicles, Most Wanted, exclusive interviews, and many more. Come along, grab a hot cuppa, and enjoy ZTN Prime's new season programming.
You're watching The Mint as we come to you live from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Eben Mabunda. Zimbabweans are snapping up properties as a safe haven against current uncertainty at a time when a popular hedge, the country's stock market, is underperforming. The Zimbabwe Stock Exchange's all-share index is down 21% since September 27, when the central bank devalued the ZiG after a bout of persistent weakness against the dollar and began tightening monetary policy to stabilize the local gold-backed currency. The stance has led to a liquidity crunch that's impacted the bourse and forced local investors to look elsewhere. Mark Conway, the founder of PropertyBook.com, Causeway, the country's largest online property portal, told Bloomberg in an interview that there are lots of cash buyers as property has become the flavor of the season and the preferred place to park cash. Buyers include local business owners, miners who are cash flush from a rally in the gold price, and Zimbabwean nationals living abroad, estate agency owners said. Many are attracted to properties in Harare, the capital, where prices of upmarket residential homes in leafy northern suburbs such as Bordal and Highlands are rising between 8 to 12% annually, according to data by PropertyBook. Demand in the capital often outstrips supply, according to Joshua Silcock, an estate agency partner at Cardinal Properties, whose property portfolio spans across Harare, the tourist city of Victoria Falls, and Gweru, the third largest city. Now, Stephen Sad, chief executive of Aspen Pharmacare, purchased just over 100 million rand in the company's shares this week, bolstering his stake in a clear sign of backing the group in the face of recent headwinds that saw billions of rands wiped off its market cap. The on-market purchase of shares in two separate transactions on 6 and 7 May was highlighted in a director's dealing since filming on the JSE on Thursday. Thursday with an announcement noting the transaction was by South Africa Pty Ltd, of which Stephen Bradley Sard is a director. US President Donald Trump announcement of a 100% tariff on overseas produced films has ignited fierce criticism from Hollywood and academic circles amid growing concerns over the struggling domestic film industry. Nicholas J. Carl, professor at the University of Southern California's Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, warned that film tariff is fundamentally an act of political manipulation. He cautioned that it would heighten uncertainty in the industry, hinder international cultural exchange, severe global understanding, and undermine efforts toward international cooperation and dialogue.
We live in a world where the problems are too big for any one country to solve. And the only way these problems are going to be solved is if people are able to work together. Now, working together requires trust. Trust requires knowledge. One of the ways in which countries get to know each other, get to appreciate each other, is through exposure to their popular culture. Now should be a time for learning more about each other, building trust between countries, and learning how to work together. And seeing each other's movies, I think, is a really important way of building knowledge and building trust. And so to me, the idea of limiting the distribution of films or penalizing production of foreign films is swimming in exactly the wrong direction at this particular moment in history.
When the Mint returns, Airtel Africa has announced that it has inked a deal with SpaceX to bring Starlink's satellite-based internet services in the 14 markets it now operates in on the continent. The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Dental checkups, experiments, games.
The mixture is making bubbles and the bubbles have changed color. Our balloon has been fueled by carbon dioxide.
We have it all right here on Happy Sprouts. Catch us exclusively on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
That guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Welcome back, gospel music lovers, to another season of My Ultimate Gospel 10. Your ultimate destination for soul-stirring melodies and inspirational stories.
Might prepare me for a good day.
And God is faithful because He's holy.
Like, wow, this is beautiful.
Each week, they'll be revealing their top 10 gospel songs. Meet Miss Becky K, the dynamic and passionate new presenter for Season 3.
If you are ready, let's get into My Ultimate Gospel 10.
Premiering soon, only on ZTN Prime. Stay tuned and let the music uplift your soul.
Welcome back to The Mint as we come to you live from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Eben Mabunda. Now, Airtel Africa has announced that it has inked a deal with SpaceX to bring Starlink's satellite-based internet services in the 14 markets it operates in on the continent. Under the new partnership, Starlink's high-speed, low-latency internet will be integrated into Airtel Africa's offerings. Starlink has already secured regulatory licenses in 9 of the countries where Airtel Africa operates, with applications pending in the remaining 5 countries. For conversation on that, we're now joined in studio by Niklas Chirume, our in-house tech analyst here on The Mint. Nick, hello and welcome to The Mint.
Hello, Eben. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Let's get the ball rolling. What's the significance of this very development?
Okay, so the significance, I'm really excited about this development, Eben. In Africa, we have been a state whereby we needed that impact, we needed that technological gap to be bridged. And right now, that is what Starlink is doing. So we see that there are some countries that Starlink hasn't been able to get into because of some of it may be political, it can be law-based, it can be policy. But with this partnership with Airtel, Starlink is actually able to get into some of these countries. And we saw a rise in its application, some countries such as Congo, countries such as South Africa, where it was previously not in. But with the partnership with Airtel, we're looking that it might actually be able to get into these countries.
Right. They have already secured licenses in 9 countries, speaking to Airtel. And of course, they've got a presence in 14 countries. What does this partnership then mean in terms of their ability to provide super fast internet in these particular countries?
So one of my main points that I mainly stress is competitive edge. So in Africa, we have a situation such that when it comes to the telecoms department, it's more of an oligopoly. You have a situation such that it's only 3 or 2 companies that are providing telecoms. But with the provision of Starlink, right, you find that even in Kenya, there was a situation such that the government actually said Starlink would be good for Kenya because right now, you'd find that it was only provisions, maybe 2 or so internet providers, but with Starlink coming in with lower prices, it's now a bit of a competition and they are forced to reduce their prices. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's also being able to reach those communities that some of the fibers or some of the bandwidth cannot reach. For example, some of the deeper villages in Congo, with Starlink satellite provision, we'll be actually able to reach those areas and provide business-to-business services.
Right, quite an interesting matrix there that we're looking at and the potential that this could bring to Africa's digital economy. May you speak to the potential that could be unlocked there?
So, as a person who is invested in tech, I can actually tell you what I have seen from the introduction of Starlink over the recent past months. So
here in Zimbabwe.
Here in Zimbabwe, we've had a rise in some online competitions. We'd have, like, let's say, hackathons. We've had a rise in hackathons that are actually being put out. I was actually in one myself just recently. A lot of hackathons are being introduced because now a lot of people have access to actually being able to search the net and access to resources. So we have a lot of young minds that are getting into it. We have a lot of young minds that are actually putting out some solutions to real-world problems. And that's not only the only thing, because we're looking at education here. We can also look at telemedicine. So in some hard-to-reach areas, we actually have, I think one of the main recent innovations was being able to deliver medicine using drones. And this is actually a game changer for villages that are situated in places that are hard to reach. Let's say, for example, there's an earthquake and roads are blocked. We can actually implement this in order to be able to give first aid bases for people who actually need it.
Right, Niklas Chirume joining us on The Mint, of course. He's our in-house tech analyst. Nick, thank you for speaking to us here on The Mint. And of course, that's a wrap on The Mint today. And of course, for the week, do follow us on our social media handles as Papers TV Network, as well as at ZTN Prime. Your views and your thoughts are important to us. Remember to catch us every weekday at 2 p.m. Central African Time for the juiciest business stories in Zimbabwe, on the continent, as well as beyond. I'm Eben Mabunda, the money man. Let them do what they do. When we do what we do, we mean business. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.
Didn't graduate? I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, So who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Welcome back, gospel music lovers, to another season of My Ultimate Gospel 10. Your ultimate destination for soul-stirring melodies and inspirational stories.
Might prepare me for a good day.
And God is faithful because He's holy.
Like, wow, this is beautiful.
Each week, they'll be revealing their top 10 gospel songs. Meet Miss Becky K, the dynamic and passionate new presenter for Season 3.
If you are ready